the increasing crush of student loan debt. Right now, Americans owe more than $1.3 trillion in student loan debt, and the average 2016 graduate owes more than $37,000, up 6% from just the year before. Then when you start factoring in interest rates, you're looking at monthly payments on par with a brand new car, the kind most new grads probably can't afford. And as it turns out, many can't swing the school payments either. More than 4 million people were in default on $137 billion worth of student loans last year, according to an analysis this week by the Consumer Federation of America. The start of a ripple effect that's likely to cause problems on employment background checks, credit ratings, which affect a person's ability to buy a home and beyond. And to that end, Attorney General Maura Healey announced a new campaign today to help Massachusetts families better understand what's at stake.
College is a great investment. It's okay to take out loans. Before you decide where you're going to enroll, we want you to understand how much you're going to owe when you graduate, how long it's going to take to pay that money back.
On top of that, there are a dizzying number of different types of loans and options for payments even after graduation. Joining me now to discuss the scope of the student debt problem are leaders of two organizations involved in this new initiative. Gabrielle King Morris, Massachusetts Director of You Aspire. It's a nonprofit which helps students find an affordable path to and through college. Gabby, good to meet you. Thanks for being here.
Good to meet you
Tom
too.
Graff, I've known him for a century, Executive Director of the Massachusetts Educational Financing Authority, or MIFA. Tom, it's good to see you. Despite all the attention this is getting in the political world, things are worse, not better, yes?
Well, I don't think so. I think there's a lot of tension nationally about this issue, and families are beginning to pay attention that if you aspire your children to go on to school, you have to start thinking about it earlier and taking steps that alleviate kind of debt. So I think we're better in an awareness standpoint. We need families to take some action.
Well, we may be more aware, but we're more broke. I wrote a piece for the Globe magazine 4 years ago. Just looked at today. The average debt was $27,000. It's up $10,000 per student in 4 years. That's worse.
Yeah, I would say that the trend that we see in working with students across the state is that the difference between what families can pay and what the cost of college is rising. We've seen the transfer of the cost of college going away from the government paying to students and families.
So but even when government pays, they're part of the problem sometimes, aren't they? I don't mean your end of it. I mean, but the federal government, often the kind of checking they do, it's sort of like the mortgage crisis in my estimation. The federal government, tell me if this is unfair, doesn't look at ability to repay and those sort of things. They give out money. People, of course, take it, and then they find themselves in a hole.
It is true that banks actually have more regulation around who they can lend to than the federal government. So you're right. A lot of the default is coming from federal loans.
And by the way, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, and on a transparency level, if you look at the federal loans, you can't find an APR. There's no lender in the country that is allowed not to.
Wait a second.
Provide.
So how can they defend? Who would defend that in 500? I'm serious. Who in Congress would say, "Oh, that's a good thing"? The less the public knows when they borrow money, the better. Who would defend that?
Well, this is exactly why the Attorney General is taking this on. So today, she announced that on her website, there's information about how to look at your financial award letters because they are very hard to read. APRs aren't included. Sometimes the cost of tuition is not listed. It's very hard for any family or student to navigate. Even folks that are highly educated don't know how to read these letters.
And so what's your role in all this deal? What do you do there?
So I'm the executive director of You Aspire Massachusetts. Right. We're a national organization, and we focus on college affordability, so helping students navigate how to get to and through college financially. There's so many things to navigate. So we help students and families navigate those financial challenges.
What does that mean in English? Is that like an advice thing, or what does that mean?
It's advice and service. So we're actually in high schools, side by side with guidance counselors. We help students from filling out the FAFSA, that very difficult form, and to get federal and state aid, right? How to make your college choice, because you might do all the right things, get all the funding, but you still have to figure out what are you actually going to pay and what are you going to owe at the end of this.
Do you actually loan money, don't you?
We do. So we do similar things, maybe in a broader sense. We help families plan. We do the seminars. We do the counseling. We do the training. Families rely on high school guidance counselors for advice, but guidance counselors have so many other burdens.
The ratios are also out of control of the guidance counselor to students.
So we kind of backstop them there. We run the college savings plan. If you're really serious, you got to start saving, even if it's modest amounts. And we do offer at the back end lower cost loans.
And by the way, one of the things I should add to the list in the beginning when I'm talking about your credit rating, etc. I've interviewed a lot of people, young people, who say, I didn't take the job or the career I wanted to pursue because it only paid $24,000. I can make $36,000 at a job I had no interest interest in
You will-
sort of changes your whole trajectory.
You'll have students making short-term decisions to pay back student debt and not really investing in careers.
You know what drives me nuts about this is one of the things you're the right people for me to talk to, I hope. No one, it seems to me, is you're providing advice, you're providing loans, but no one's attacking the underlying problem. The cost. Congress a few years ago was practically orgasmic when they cut the interest rate on these so-called Stafford loans, these low-income persons loans, from 6.8% to 3%. I called the Congressional something office. You know how much it saved the average borrower a month? This great thing? $6 a month. Is anybody going at the underlying cost issue? $30,000, $40,000, $60,000 a year. That's the issue, isn't it?
Yeah, certainly the rates on loans are a small part of it. It's the cost of the product one's buying.
Anybody attacking the cost of the product?
There've been some talk over the year. Washington talked about skin in the game. Maybe they should have, if loans are defaulted, schools should pay for that, or there's some way of controlling price controls. But none of that has really ever gotten any traction.
And it seems, I don't mean to be as negative as I'm being, but as good as you do and you do, if costs keep rising, the core cost, it's essentially Band-Aid stuff.
I would agree. So we're doing two things. Right now we're helping students navigate the situation as it is and work with the Attorney General and other partners. We have to look at the system. I mean, to your point, the system is not working for a lot of students and families. So we have to figure out what else can we do, what alternative.
Okay, we only have 30 seconds left. You're the czarina and you're the czar of this issue. Congress, Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell call you tonight and say, tell me the one thing to do to attack this underlying problem. What is it?
Accountability for colleges, that they need to make, we need to have some system that's accountable for a college graduate. Who's going to make sure that that student graduates? So is it the colleges? Is it government? But we have to
Some
help
accountability. How about you, quickly?
Yeah, I think getting students to graduate is the most important thing. We find if you're making a loan or anything like that, graduation is the key metric. You've got the skill, you still have the loans, but you have the ability to pay them back.
From your lips to Paul Ryan's ears. Gabby, nice to meet you.
Great to
Tom, it's
meet
good
you.
to see you
Good
again.
to see you again.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks
for
so
your time.
much.
Appreciate it.